Hi, welcome to A Punk with Toys. My name is Lawrence, and in this classic review, we're taking a look at the G.I. Joe, A Real American Hero Ferret. And yes, this is my original Ferret, but not with all of the original parts. A matter of fact, there are some 3D printed parts on it, like the wheel flares here, the back cover, and this little piece, which doesn't really allow it to turn properly. I 3D printed it, but anyway, yeah, this is my original, so it kind of means a lot to me, although pieces get lost over time, and it is missing the little coil section and tube section here that's supposed to connect. But anyway, we're going to take a look at this. We're going to throw a couple figures on it, maybe the figures we've just been looking at. You can kind of tell. Normally I'm in looking different, but I thought there was a theme. They went with the Crimson Guard to the Crimson Twins to the Ferret. So as you can see, this may have all been recorded on the same day. Anyway, right in order. But anyway, we're going to take a look at this guy, see what came with it. This was a cool little thing to take anywhere. Again, it got to be really associated with the Crimson Twins, but it also was associated with Firefly and so many others. But anyway, let's get into this. But before we do, if you haven't yet, please take a second, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that bell notification so you're notified every time I drop a classic review. All right, here is our Cobra Ferret. And as you can see, as I mentioned, this is my original one. And again, it has seen better days. And let's be honest, not all the parts are the original. Although the two guns are the same, or the original, same with the handle up here. Wheels are all the same. Missiles are not. And the piece underneath here that I also 3D printed obviously is not. But quickly, I want to mention a couple things. So what is 3D printed on this is the underbody right here, all right, which is supposed to control the gun when this moves. But unfortunately, I'm going to assume the heat tolerances or the size of it being 3D printed didn't match. It doesn't really matter. I'm not playing with it like that. This wheel flare here is also 3D printed. This one is not. Thanks to Johnny Reno, Cage's Customs. And the other thing that is 3D printed is this right here, which you can see is black. This is the cover. Now, Johnny Reno did send this to me, which is right here. The reason why I don't use it is it's two different colors. And going to 3djoes.com, I noticed and realized, and they kind of pointed out, that there are two different color versions of this. There's a much bluer one, and then there is a darker one. And because I think the black just matches better, I just put that to the side. I'm just going to leave the 3D printed one on it. But let's go ahead and take a look at everything. So quickly, because you're wondering, just the way this looks, even though the 3D printed one looks the exact same, it just has some lines going through it right there, just to give it a little bit of detail and depth. And it literally just pinches, and that's how it opens and closes. All right, so looking at this thing, it has two double barrel little machine guns right there, and then you have this big old cannon right there. And on it, I've never understood what any of this is supposed to be, other than to give it a little bit of depth. But you have the barrels that are connected. Then you get the little barrel piece that just kind of makes the gun look a little bit bigger. You get the big circle right there, two little circles. And then you can kind of see how it clips, and it actuates up and down and then moves side to side. All right. As for right back here, you have a light. Doesn't really do any good because the gun's in the way. So just shoot in front of you. Looking here, it looks like this is where you actually control your brake or your speed, different things like that. Never really noticed that. And one is actually in the up position. One looks like it is being pushed down. You got the big cannon right here on the side, and you have the air vent here so it doesn't overheat right there. I can only imagine you're eventually going to put your hand on that and burn the hell out of yourself. This does not move like the classified version. And when you get down here, there's just a little bit of detail that it really doesn't mean anything, but it almost looks like something should plug into it. I don't think there is anything. And then over here, this is where the hose actually is supposed to connect. And you did have a hose that went here to here, which I no longer have. All right. As for the bottom here, you can see the engine right in there. All right, and then you can see the gate or the mechanism that's going to connect this the weirdest missiles ever designed. Right, the weirdest missiles ever designed. It looks like it's on some sort of coil system, almost like it's supposed to pop out. And then you have your missiles here that have no launching. How does this thing launch? How does it fire? Which way is it supposed to go? God only knows. But you do have a smaller section right here. All right, and then you have the larger section. No one could ever figure out which way they're supposed to go. And then you just have the little wingtips right there. And it does just plug on like so. So you can run it any way you want. Whatever way you think it looks best, you do you. You have some rubber wheels. It says Cobra ATV, PNR 16. And if you ever looked at real tires, you know that's something that's real. They give you all kinds of different stuff on it. You can see the way it snaps on there. So you have a nice rim right there. And then you actually do have some treads right there. All right. On the back, you have your dual exhaust. All right. Just a little bit of design right there. No big deal. This thing is going to pop open so you can put a gun or something. You need something small. Doesn't hold very much, that's for sure. Here's your fueling port. So you can pull it up to the Terradrome and actually fill it up. And then you, once again, this is here. I'll pop this off. And this is rubber. All right, so the actual wheel flares are rubber, unlike the 3D printed ones that I have. But I think it looks close enough, and you don't really look at them. If you're looking at straight ahead, you're not going to notice. That's why I did put the one that I have on it instead of keeping both 3D printed ones on there. All right, so we can look here, get a better look at the engine. We don't have the gun in the way. And they did a nice job, and it goes all the way down to the bottom. This is actually probably done better than I think what we saw in the classified version. We get the seat, which is actually a softer rubber. It's pretty hard. It's not going to feel good to ride on. But again, I think it does its purpose. And then you just kind of get the wheel flares all over there. The tires do turn side to side. So once again, it gives you an illusion if you want it turned, if you're going to do photography. And the one thing that I've noticed from doing a lot of these classic reviews, especially when it comes to the vehicles, they take wonderful shots. The photography that you can do, these things are very photogenic. So, and then as I kind of mentioned right there, you can actually see just how bad that 3D printed piece actually is. But it is supposed to move it back and forth. And it's supposed to turn the gun. You can kind of see it moving just slightly. But when you actually turn this, it is supposed to turn. But I don't want to risk breaking anything. But see, it turns a little bit. But anyway, there you go. That is your Ferret. And now what we're going to do is we'll take a Crimson Guard, one of the twins. Again, you're not really going to be able to get their hands onto it so much. Just because their wrists don't swivel. This is what every O-ring should have these days, but unfortunately, the Hasbro ones that they do, and same with Super 7, don't do that. And now we're going to have his twin brother, who has to be riding with them, on the back as they're going to attack G.I. Joe. Hopefully it's not dark because that light's just going to shine on the gun. But there you go. And it does roll. Look at that. Woo! Just like that. Let's wrap this up. All right, there we go. That is your classic review of my original Ferret, which, let's be honest, it's seen better days, but isn't that what it's supposed to be? You played with it. And again, a lot of my toys, that some of the original, you can kind of see which ones you played with more and which ones you didn't. And again, I remember the majority of the ones that are my original stuff. I go back to even the Crimson Guard there. Those Crimson Guards that I had, that I showed off, are not my original, but I do have my original. I've never gotten rid of one. But I can say that the ones that I had they've seen better days. But I keep them because they mean a lot. Now I have complete ones here. But anyway, I went on a tangent. Go figure. But there you go. Tell me a little story. Is this something that you had? You could easily throw it in a lunchbox and take it to grandma and grandpa's house, your aunt and uncle's, to your friend's house. Maybe this was the one you took to school, right? And it was always playing in the dirt, in the sandbox there. Anyway, tell me a story about this. It's your story. I want to hear it. But you guys have stayed this long, and I definitely appreciate it. So please take a second, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that bell notification so you're notified every time I drop the classic review. Now I'm going to get out of here. Now some of you may be saying, yeah, I saw in the video you had the Crimson Twins and you had Crimson Guards, but how come you don't have them on here? Why didn't you put them on here? Well, right up here is going to be the review of the Crimson Twins. Say Tomax, and down here will be a playlist all the classic reviews that I've done. Take care.